Before COVID-19, most architectural products were promoted through in-person presentations such as lunch and learns, breakfasts, happy hours, that sort of thing. There also was the aspect of updating the architectural library that we would do, where reps of different products would go into an architectural library at the firm, take out old materials, update with new materials, that sort of thing in that library. So those are the most traditional ways. I mean, obviously there are always the online aspects of marketing as well and different social media outlets, but the primary way was in-person presentations and library updates. When the pandemic hit, we all were scrambling to try to figure out, now that we can't go into these firms, how are we going to continue to market and promote our products? And boy, I would have liked to have been in the business of Skype or Zoom or Microsoft Teams or something like that at that time, because they certainly suddenly had a huge increase in sales, because that was what we all gravitated toward, was these online platforms to allow us to still present to these firms and get in front of them in some fashion. It wasn't simple. A lot of us weren't super tech savvy about these programs. We'd all use Skype and GoToMeeting and all that. And that was great for one-on-one type meetings. But when we started to try to do larger types of presentations, we all had to adapt and learn how to do that and how to interact better. So that was the main way that we started to shift gears and continue to be able to market to the architectural and design community. The other thing we noticed is that we schedule our presentations, those in-person presentations, way out into the future. So my schedule gets really booked going into the future. And one thing we found very effective was to proactively reach out to these firms where we already had things scheduled and say, listen, I know, in the COVID pandemic that you're not going to allow me to come in your office and present, but I can do that same presentation online via some type of online platform, and it can be equally as effective, or at least close to as effective as if I could actually be in your office. We also started to really ramp up our utilization of LinkedIn as a very important tool in connecting us with architects and designers, and allowing that to be a way for us to advertise and promote webinars that we may have coming up. We tried some e-blast stuff, but really I have to say that the e-blasts have been very, very poorly received, really. And I think it's because in this COVID era, people are getting so inundated with emails that the last thing they want is something, trying to sell you something or promote something. So those are the things we've done to really help us in this era. That's a really interesting question, because, when I first started to do it, I really simply took the presentation that I had already, or presentations, because I do 18 different ones, and I would, put the PowerPoint up, have the picture of me or the video of me doing the presentation, and I would run with it. And one thing that we noticed was, or I especially noticed, was when I did it that way, I got very little participation. So what I started to do was just try to change it up a little bit. And, I have to use those programs or those PowerPoints because they're AIA approved programs. But In changing it up, I noticed I have to be, and you can see me now, I had to get more animated. I had to get more fun about it and laughing and trying to make jokes and coming up with things to keep people engaged was just paramount for this to work. The other thing that I found, the better you know it, the more engaged the audience will be, the more questions you'll get, the more people coming forth with projects you'll get. And I really noticed that more in the virtual presentations than I did when I was doing them more in person. The COVID pandemic has forced us to be more nimble and forced us to change some of the ways we were doing things and get more cost effective, get in front of people in a broader fashion. So I think it has helped. For instance, these webinars we do, we created a webinar calendar that we have on our website and that we actively promote through social media outlets as well as blog section of our website to constantly be offering webinars and presentations to architectural firms where we don't have to do them in person. I think that's a positive thing, really. I mean, I hope someday we get to go back to doing them in person, but this will certainly not ever stop that we're doing them from this virtual format as well. So I think that's a wonderful thing. I also think that it really forced us to get involved in some of these other lead generation sources that are out there, such as, CMD's Construct Connect and Medical Build Central and Dodge reports and all of these things that, we were in architectural firms so much before that, frankly, my company did such a great job of lead generation. We really didn't need those kind of things, but they certainly would have helped even in that era. So now it forced us to start using them and really understanding them and reaching out to the architect who's listed as the architect on different projects in those lead generation sources. And it's really helped us to broaden our reach. I will say one thing about that has been super instrumental in us at ISA being successful and being able to negotiate these more difficult times is because we had invested all that money and time in spending time in architectural firms and interior design firms and getting to know the people there. It really helped us make these leads that we get from Construct Connect or Medical Build Central effective, because had we not already done all that work to build relationships within those firms, it would have been extremely difficult for us to reach out and be accepted and be given information back that we asked for. So because we had those relationships, it's made these different types of sources very, very helpful.